That's fine. I suppose what I say to you, Minister, is food security is of paramount importance. And we all know that if we don't eat, young and old, that you're not going to last very long. And it's sad when we see other people and children indeed in all these war places starving. And we hear and we read that there are 750 million people in the world starving, and yet we seem to be not doing our best to promote food, the growth of our beef and cattle and dairy industry like we should be. It's not that long ago, Minister, and we still remember it because we can still see the ridges of garden and the hillsides that were never dug because of the famine in the 1840s when the gardens failed. And we still were exporting beef and meat to England to pay the rent, and they wouldn't forego that, and many of our people starved, and the ridges that weren't dug are still there to be seen. But the things that's bothering a lot of people now is the state seem to be buying up a lot of land. It's the Farmers' Journal the other day that they're going to continue doing that. And all that's done with that land, then, first of all, it's bought against young farmers that want to expand and paying higher than normal prices for it. And this land is left go wild, then, encouraging more deer, more badgers and foxes. And you know, even in Kerry, we have 27,000 acres of a national park, and it's lovely and all that, but there's no control in the world, and the deer or the badgers coming out of it, spreading TB, killing people on the roads. It's a fact, breaking cars, and there's no control in the world. The other thing that's happening, good land is being planted now with solar panels. And farms that were farming up to 1,100, had 1,100 cows, giving up and covering the place with solar panels. This is happening in West Cork, East Cork, and in the Royal County of Meath, and it's a real worry. And you see, I thought that solar panels were to be on shed roofs and agricultural or commercial, and I don't blame any farmer for or landowner for switching if they haven't been paid properly for their produce. And there should be some proper policy in it. Farmers are getting blamed in and feel victimised for climate change, for polluting rivers, for many of the different sectors, including members in this chamber are victimising them and blaming them constantly, and advising us to eat other tropical type foods from South America and from different places. Do they realise that there's a carbon footprint in bringing all these things? Then one of our recent Taoiseach went as far as saying that he was doing his bit for climate change by reducing his beef consumption. Beef is expensive now because it's getting scarce, and it is only proper and right that the farmers are being paid for their produce. But and even the same with lamb is getting scarce. Dairy farmers are giving up. Young fellas see their friends work a 5-day week, get holidays, and don't have to be up all night calving cows. And they see that they have a better time, and they're not going to stay at the grindstone like their fathers or their grandfathers did, building up their big dairy herds. I have more, Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Well, Ireland is among the most food-secure countries in the world, and according to the latest Global Food Security Index, ranked second of 113 countries assessed for food security. The resilience of the food supply chain was clearly demonstrated over the past number of years when dealing with the effects of Brexit and COVID-19. Currently, Ireland produces significantly more food than we consume. The agri-food sector is globally orientated, with approximately 90% of Irish beef, sheep meat and dairy produce exported each year. As the Deputy is aware, Ireland is part of the EU single market and participates in the Common Agricultural Policy, which is the key mechanism for ensuring food security throughout Europe. The EU is largely self-sufficient for many agricultural products, but is a considerable net importer for specific products. The current geopolitical situation is challenging established assumptions on food security. The EU communication Safeguarding Food Security and Reinforcing the Resilience of Food Systems sets out actions in 3 areas of security, stability and sustainability. The EU Agriculture and Fisheries Council of Ministers will continue to focus on these core areas and to support the work of the European Food Security Crisis Preparedness and Responsive Mechanism. The agri-food sector drives economic growth in every rural parish and every county in Ireland, as the Deputy alluded to. It reaches from every corner of the country to global markets. It includes primary production in farming, fishing and forestry, and the processing and manufacture of food, beverages and wood products. Agri-food is Ireland's largest indigenous exporting sector and accounts for 6% of modified gross national income and 8.6% of merchandising exports in volume terms. The sector employs 169,300 people, representing 6.1% of total employment, which translates to 1 in every 16 jobs, and of course a far greater proportion in rural constituencies like our own. While the last few years have been challenging for the sector, as significant energy prices rises and supply chain disruptions fuelled inflation and contribute to increased input prices and decreases in output prices, our farmers, fishers, processors and food businesses have demonstrated the resilience of the agri-food sector. Ireland's approach to delivering sustainable agriculture and food is set out in Food Vision 2030, our shared stakeholder-led strategy for continuing development of the agri-food sector in Ireland. Its vision is for Ireland to be a world leader in sustainable food systems, encompassing environmental, economic and socially sustainability. It was designed using a food systems approach, recognising the requirements to have greater policy coherence across agriculture, food and the environment, and the involvement of all the food system stakeholders. The centrality of primary producers in Food Vision recognises that economically sustainable farmers, fishers and forest owners are an integral part of our rural and coastal communities and of our natural environment and landscape. It recognises that healthy environments, ecosystems, communities and economies can go together. Irish agri-food exports reached a record €19.1 billion in 2024, an increase of over 5 cents per value on the €18.1 billion achieved in 23, an increase of 1/3 by value on the €4.8 billion on the 1/3 of value, €4.8 billion on the €14.3 million achieved in 2020. This represents 40% of all exports from Irish-owned firms. With highly competitive global markets, the agri-food sector works hard to protect its reputation and continuously strives to innovate and maintain a level of competitiveness and resilience that has enabled it to prosper and develop in a globalised trading environment.
Minister, thank you very much. And thank you for being here this late at night. But I say to you, thrown out a lot of figures there, and I'm not, my head isn't like a computer, but I can say to you honestly and truthfully here inside, you're going back in figures that have been up till now. But I'm worried about from here on. Because as I told you, much land is being bought up and left go idle. Much land is being planted, as I say, with solar panels. And I'm glad that you mentioned coastal communities and fishing. Our fishers are almost gone. They were paid to decommission. And when I mentioned here inside about pair trawling in Kenmare Bay, nothing has been done or nothing will be done because they have it completely cleaned out. I think of the times that I go back along Tahala and look into the bay, Kenmare River, and would see the likes of Frankie Jim and Joe Jim and Donald Shea and all those fellas and the Bryans and the other fellas back along Steam out in the bay day after day fishing. They're gone, Minister. I didn't get a mackerel with the last 3 years. The villages be full of them before. They're not to be had at all out of Kenmare Bay. I say to you, there are too many schemes now to promoting less production. With this protected urea, it would grow nothing, Minister. And I say to you, a lot of the fertiliser that's growing, that you buy now, whatever is gone and taken out of it, it doesn't grow what it used to grow before. The other thing that I have to mention, Minister, multinational supermarket companies have too much power. If they decide not to sell us this item or the other, we can't challenge them with no small shops. They're all gone. And the worst thing that they're doing, they're insisting that suppliers, old farmers, have to allow them 3 months credit. I'm asking you to look into that, see how is that fair. The farmers are actually bankrolling many of the supermarket companies, and they have to wait to be paid. The farmers have to pay for the diesel oil, they have to pay for everything else they get, and they can't make their people wait for 3 months. That's not fair on our producers, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Healy-Rae. Well, Food Vision 2030 looks to protect and build on Ireland's global reputation as a trusted supplier of high-quality, safe, sustainable food to consumers both at home and abroad. And as the figures that I quoted earlier, 90% of what we produce is exported. Irish agri-food has been successful in accessing and developing new market opportunities both locally and in the international markets. Diversifying and developing markets will continue to be a priority. And I know our new ministers are working very hard in this area. Food Vision aims for the sector to reach 21 billion in exports by 2030, with this growth driven by a steady growth in export value rather than volume. Food Vision recognises the challenges but also the opportunities and has a clear vision of Ireland being a world leader in sustainable food systems. The Government continues to support farmers under the 9.8 billion CAP strategic plan and via specific sectoral supports. It is very positive to see the Teagasc National Farm Survey preliminary results estimate that the average farm income in 2024 rose by 87%. And that the 2025 income forecasts are also positive. And I suppose they're real present-day figures, Deputy Healy-Rae. Food Vision provides a vision for a dynamic, sustainable and innovative agri-food sector ready to adapt and to embrace to change for a more sustainable future. And I suppose the point is that with Food Vision 2030. It is a strategic framework that Ireland's agri-food sector can work to achieve its ambition as a world leader in sustainable food systems. You have made a number of points here this evening, and you appreciate it's not my area of expertise, but I will relay the points that you have raised here this evening back to the relevant ministers in the Department of Agriculture. And you have a direct line there yourself, so I've no doubt you'll be raising it yourself also.